Grab your pre-workout and turn up that volume. It is time for a new episode of the Powerlifter's Den with your host, Cam Smith. What's up, Powerlifter's Den family? Want to rep the podcast and look good while doing it? Check out my official merch store at plden.company.site. We've got tees, hoodies, beanies, hats, and more, and gear that'll keep you motivated in and out of the gym. Every purchase helps support me and the podcast and keeps the den growing strong. So whether you're hitting a heavy squat session or just lounging in style, we've got you covered. Head to plden.company.site and grab your merch today. Listen, I don't have a beard. I've got this glorious mustache. But even this stash deserves elite care. That's where Wicked Wolf Beard Co. comes into play. Their oils and balms keep the face fuzz fresh, soft, and ready for action. No crusty cowboy nonsense here. It smells great, feels great, and makes me look more like I lift heavy things. Beard, mustache, or something in between, Wicked Wolf's got your mug covered. Wicked Wolf Beard Co. Respect the stash. Head on over to Wicked Wolf Beard Co. and use code PLDEN for 25% off your order. Shout out to my guy Bear over at Summit Performance Therapy, the only person I trust to scrape me, needle me, and massage me, and fix my squat at the same time. If your joints sound like microwave popcorn, or you've been limping since Tuesday's deadlifts, Bear's your guy. He knows lifters, he is a lifter, and he's got magic hands, dry needles, and a deep understanding of how to not let your body fall apart. Book a session and tell him the PL Den sent you. Summit Performance Therapy. Reach your summit. Powered by Bear. Literally. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Powerlifter's Den. I'm your host, Cam Smith, and today I want to bring on the strongest 181 of all time, Blake Lehew, also known as the deadlifting orangutan. Blake, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, my name's Blake Lehew. I've been powerlifting for about 16 years now, done over 60 competitions, mostly full power. Competed in, I think, 8 different federations now at this point. Yeah, I'm hoping to get another 10 years out of this before my body falls apart.
Yeah, so I think one of the cool things, if you just like look at your open powerlifting, there's just like an ass load of meets on there. And a lot of people don't last this long in the sport. So what's kind of kept you locked in for so long and kept you from burning out?
I mean, there have been a few things. Honestly, I think the thing that's kept me from burning out the most is just scaling as I start to feel it come on, right? I started off in pretty much single ply, and in Texas high school powerlifting, it's single ply or nothing.
Yeah.
And you did that all the way up until 2018, 2019. And that's whenever I decided that, I was going to burn out if I didn't give something up.
Yeah.
And so I ended up just giving up equip lifting at that point in time while I still had some love and respect for it. So I guess, taking time to sit there and analyze what's actually holding me back, like what's actually burning me out. Is the lifting itself? What's the biggest stressor?
Yeah, so I guess off of that, was there any point like during your career so far that you were like really close to walking away?
Altogether, no. I mean, the closest point was whenever yeah, the closest I ever was actually whenever I decided to give up quit lifting. I remember the moment I was prepping for Open Worlds, and I was in my hot ass garage in the middle of July, single ply, like trying to get in my suit. My wife was wrapping me. Nobody was home. And I was supposed to hit what was my opener, misgrooved. My wife luckily shoved me into the bench rack.
Oh, wow.
And I collapsed on the ground, knee wrap, suit, and I was just like, I'm done. This is it. Like, I cannot handle this anymore.
Yeah, that's that's definitely a good reason to maybe question what's going to happen. So I think that's what is cool about the sport of powerlifting. There's so many different like avenues of routes to go. Like you could be on the opposite side of like, I'm so sick of doing raw. Then you got multiply, you got single ply, or you're sick of multiply, but you don't want to train raw. You got the band shirts. Like there's so much diversity in the sport now.
Yeah, there really is. And people chalk it up as like, oh, equipped is cheating or whatever. This, I'm like, no, it's almost a different sport in its entirety.
Yes, 100%.
Like, obviously it's still powerlifting, but like a good equipped powerlifter might not be a good raw and vice versa.
Yeah, and I mean the famous quote is like, if you think it's so easy, then do it, and no one ever does it.
No, no. Well, powerlifting in itself is uncomfortable enough to start. You add the layers of single ply to it, and it's just a whole nother ball game of uncomfortable.
Yeah, and like to me, like as a multiply lifter currently, I mean, obviously I started raw, but like single ply seems like a whole different animal in the fact that like multiply there's so much more support, but it doesn't necessarily hurt as bad. All I've heard from single ply is it's just painful and way less support.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've never actually done multiply myself. Only single ply, raw, and wraps. Um, but I've heard people describe the differences, and it's like single ply, when you get good at it, you size down on your suits. So it's like, what's the most amount of uncomfort I can handle?
Yeah,
But multiply, my understanding is you typically size up because there's no squeezing in the suit. It fits or it doesn't.
yeah, it that's what so with the multiply now, like the LUP and stuff, like the and F8's new suit, and like there's some suits that have that adjustability, but when you have like a canvas, like you need to have it kind of fit perfectly per se.
Yeah. And see, I'm not. See, my perspective is my wife actually challenged me one time. I ordered a suit from the World Team Gear for her, and it was a size smaller than what I use. And I made a joke. I'm like, oh, I could probably squeeze into that. So she challenged me. It's like, no, you can't. I said, oh, watch me. Took me about 45 minutes, and my legs were purple by the end of it. But then I took a squat, and I was like, this is my suit now.
Yeah. So with single ply, I do know one of the things is like they tend to obviously lose their like pop and they kind of stretch early. Um, and I some people say like they only get like one prep out of their suit. So um, with that kind of added variable, like is there any difference of like kind of relearning every time you get a new shirt, a new suit, even if it's the same thing?
Yes, there definitely is, but we actually found a solution. I don't know how common this is. Maybe it's not as. It was common for me, just in the 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 people I was around. But we actually found a really good tailor. And so we would take it to her, $30 a unit. And anytime we break a suit in too much, she would go in and just take it in a quarter inch, take it in a quarter inch. So you break it in. We actually had a guy on the powerlifting team at A&M, and his goal was to touch his chest as many times as possible before the meet. But every time he touched, he would go have it taken in a quarter of an inch.
Yeah, it's almost like single ply. You should someone should start a company of single ply where they just pre-stretch everything and then make it to size so you can just keep using it.
Yeah, yeah, honestly. Well, that's half the fun, stretching it out.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was using an insert bolt, and I was pretty good at single ply. Like I got 300 to 400 pounds on my total out of single ply equipment, so like I was pretty good at using the equipment. So I could just kind of force stuff down at a certain point, and so I'm taking like 475, I think, on bench in this shirt, and like I get halfway down, I'm like, no, I still got it. So I pull it, and you just hear pop, 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 pop. And I was like, well, I was gonna do it for a double. So then I take it again, and it starts popping again. The guy spotted me. Is like, I do not know what's going on right now. This guy's gonna
Yeah.
die.
So I kind of want to dive into like the Texas powerlifting scene because that's honestly I feel like it's something that our world of powerlifting we don't talk about, but it's such a huge part of the powerlifting world because like Texas single ply is like basically Inzer and Titan's like biggest form of revenue. Like it's like the biggest
Yeah.
part of powerlifting. It just doesn't get talked about. So I want to hear your experience about it.
Honestly, I mean, there's some downsides to it because when you just kind of zoom out and you look at the broad spectrum of like these are kids
Yeah.
doing this, right? And when we're 16, 17, like we think we're invincible, but and so they treat powerlifting like it's a spring sport, like it's track. And so we're doing a meet every weekend. Well, like literally I did 3 meets in 1 month.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I maxed out. I balled out at all of them. And then after the third one, I kid you not, this is not an exaggeration. I slept for 22 hours straight.
Oh my god.
I literally slept from 6 p.m. until like 3 or 4 p.m. the next afternoon. And I needed it. I was just out.
So why is it set up that way, and why do you think it hasn't changed?
Um, honestly, because it's built around Football. That's why the high school football coaches know if they don't if the kids aren't involved in some other sport outside of football, like whenever the spring comes around, they're not going to stay active. They're not going to stay in shape. And so it actually kind of became a requirement, at least at my school, and I know a lot of other small schools, where okay, if you don't want to play baseball, fine. You don't want to play basketball, fine. But you have to do a spring sport. And so the easiest barrier to entry was powerlifting. And so, they knew if they're powerlifting, they're going to be lifting, they're still going to be in shape for the next season. And so they just run them ragged. And so I've actually given high school coaches like the advice. I'm like, if you've got some kids that are just like really talented at powerlifting and they want to pursue this, let them get one competition in at the beginning of the season, let them qualify for regionals, and then don't have them do a meet again until regionals and then state. But obviously, if it's not their priority and they just want to have some fun, like whatever,
Yeah.
you can't stop a 16-year-old from doing what they're gonna do.
Yeah, and it's so kind of going off that, maybe your first experience of a meet outside of that, or like kind of doing like a normal length prep and kind of having that proper peak and that recovery, like how much of a difference did you notice overall?
Um, I, it's funny. No one's ever actually asked me that question, which is good on you because I've been asked these questions a lot. Um, I don't know. I want to say I've always been relatively injury free. I've been hurt. We've all been hurt,
Yeah.
right? Like, um, and so as far as like having a setback from overtraining and doing all this, I've always been my own coach. I've always kind of self regulated. Um, but I guess maybe I could say there was more steady and stable growth from meet to meet, assuming I total because that's an issue sometimes. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think whenever I started actually prepping, it's like this is the meet I'm going to do this quarter or whatever. Going from 10 meets a year to 3 or 4 meets a year, that kind of thing. It was pretty steady, 30 to 50 pounds on my total every meet
Yeah.
versus doing a bunch of meets in a short period. It's like I'm up 15 this one, I'm down 20 this one, I'm up 40 this one. Like it was just all over the place.
Yeah, and it's funny that it's like, yeah, we consider powerlifting a sport, but when you treat it like any other sport, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it really doesn't. I mean, especially like the duration of the meet. Like you can prepare all you want, but you can't prepare to like have intermittent bouts of adrenaline for 8 hours.
Yeah.
You can't prepare for that. There's no way.
Yeah, and I think that's where the difference is with like some of these pro level athletes, is being able to like ramp up and ramp down. Like when they hit the chalk pole to get to the platform, they come off, they cool down, they're chilling. Like you can kind of tell when you see like a newer lifter at a meet, because they're all like headphones locked in, pacing around, like all angry. It's like, dude, you're just stressing yourself out, and by the time you get to deadlifts, you're gonna be taking a nap.
Yeah, no, exactly. When I used to have, I say used to, um, whenever I first started getting into competing raw, I'm used to being in equipment, right? So I'm just like, this is kind of a joke. Like, this is a breeze for me, guys. Like, I'm so used to, I got to warm up, I got to get in my suit, I got to warm up in my suit, and then I got to go take my openers and stuff. And then I go to raw, and I'm just like, I just have to warm up and go out there. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the warm up room, just like cutting it up, having a good time. Everybody's super serious and stressed. And they're like, what's this guy doing? Like, hey, Blake, your 3 lifters out. I'm like, I know, I'll be there in a minute.
Yeah, I think that's another thing with like the difference between raw and equipped, is like when you're at a meet, like you have so many like checklists to go through, like especially multiply, if you're because you got the briefs and like you got to
Oh,
lace up the suit, and you're like, all right, well, I got to take 3 warm-ups raw, I got to take 3 warm-ups in briefs, and then I got to go straps down, straps up, wraps, and it's like you got to make sure everything's like in a line, versus raw, you literally just get onto the bar, squat it, walk out to the platform.
yeah. Yeah. And I guess I've never really thought about it because it's been a while since I've done an equip meet. But I'm like, okay, that might actually be a scenario where having an 8-hour day is actually really nice.
Yeah, and that's usually the case, and the meets usually run longer because it'll be like, I feel like it's on bench halfway. It's like the fight will they'll go right into bench right after like the first flight or the second flight, and everyone will be like, "We good to go?" They'll be like, "Give us 10 minutes," and then it's like they got two more warm ups to go. We're like, "Oh," but I'm like the type of person that likes to go fast, and I'm like, "No, no, like I want to go now. Like I'm gonna get cold."
Yeah, yeah. I see. I'm the opposite. Like I'll take 30, 45 minutes between lifts and be perfectly fine. But that's just how I've trained over the years, so I'm adapted to that. And it's not that I can't go fast. Like I actually prefer a meet that's 4 hours. It's funny how my body regulates itself. Because like I'm your stereotypical power lifter at the gym. It takes me 3 hours to do two lifts.
Yep.
Like that, just it really is. And yet somehow I go to meets and it's like if it's fast, it's cool. If it's long, it's cool.
Yeah, well, I think that actually brings up the topic of I know you were planning to do one of the ABS meets and obviously had to back out for some reasons, but one of their things is like the 3 hour meet. And some people that's like, all right, that's totally fine. That's actually going to be an advantage because I'm good with being that way. Then other people are like, this is going to fuck me over.
Yeah, yeah. No, I I prefer it just because I mean, like I said, your adrenaline and everything. It's just up for 3 hours and then you're done. You go home. Like I don't want to have that up and then down and then up and then down. Because I will be more mentally fatigued going into deadlifts than physically fatigued.
Yeah, 100%. And kind of regarding the setbacks and the injuries that kind of caused you to drop out, if you kind of just look at them in paper, I feel like some people would be like, "I'm just going to do it anyways." But obviously, you've been in the game for a long time, and you probably know your body better, obviously better than anyone else. So, what are some of the things that kind of led you to determine to like not push through it and still compete?
Or you mean and not compete
Yeah,
this time around?
yeah.
So I made a post on my Instagram saying I pulled out because I got sick, which I did. I lost like 5 or 6 pounds, but strength actually didn't drop off as much as I thought it was going to. But I had a really interesting problem that I never in a million years would have thought would have been a factor in me pulling out of a meet. So I have an issue with hook grip. I have one thumb that just like it does not move. It has half the range of motion as the other one.
Oh wow.
It's wild how different the range of motion on that one thumb is. And so I can really only kind of get it set on a deadlift bar. And so the power bar, not possible. Like not even. I think I can hold like 600 pounds hook grip on a power bar. It's basically double over at that point.
Oh wow.
Well, I found out. I realized after prepping on this bar for 4 months and routinely having hamstring pain on one side that I was having this hamstring pain because I was doing mixed grip and it was causing me to twist.
Hmm.
And it was actually like my hamstring felt like it was going to blow off. Like I've never experienced anything like this in my life. And I realized it's because I'm not pulling hook grip. As soon as I start pulling hook grip again on the deadlift bar, gone. Immediately gone. And I was like, this is the dumbest problem I've ever had in the 16 years I've been doing this.
Yeah,
I can't,
that's definitely a
yeah, I
first.
can't yeah, pulling mixed grip is causing hamstring pain. And I'm just like, I feel retarded for saying it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
I'm just like,
it is what it is. I mean, that's definitely a unique problem. I haven't heard that before, and I wonder what like the solution is. If it's some sort of, I going to PT for increasing your range of motion on a thumb is definitely something I've never heard.
yeah, yeah. I'm just like, I just need to sit here all day and just like hold it in an extreme range of motion and hope that it'll be more flexible. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, within 4 weeks, I literally was back to pulling over 800 on the deadlift bar, hook grip with no pain.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I just associated with pulling on the power bar initially.
Yeah,
I was like, it's more of a deficit. There's not as much flex. Like hip positioning's a little different. I just chalked it up to that. And then later to find out, I tried to pull mixed grip on the deadlift bar, and the hamstring still hurt.
oh, there you go.
And I was like, well, okay, before I get mad, let's try the hook grip. No pain. And so I just paced around the gym for like an hour after that in rage because I had already pulled out of the meet. And I'm like, it's great that I figured this out, but like there was no real solution that would have allowed me to compete at the level that I wanted to.
Yeah, so I guess moving forward, what's kind of the solution here? Do you think it's something that you're going to try to work on that thumb, or do you think like you just won't do any meets with a power bar? Like where are you going from here?
Short term, I'm just like, unfortunately, power bar meets are out. and that sucks because I really like a challenge. I mean, I pulled on a power bar for a decade. You know, like it shouldn't be a challenge at this point in time in my career.
Yeah.
But my body's just I've built so much muscle and strength. Like my my biggest deadlift ever on a power bar but was 716 before any of this. And so now I'm pushing a 900-pound deadlift, and it's just like I don't know the difference in like how my body's trained to lift these weights now. Because I can pull 716 on a power bar without pain,
Yeah.
but anything higher than that, it's just like no, it wasn't gonna let me do it. So obviously, like as I said, I like a good challenge, so I am interested in trying to figure out a way to make that happen. But short term, as far as me not getting frustrated and still wanting to actively compete, I'm just gonna stick with the deadlift bar.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where it's like you're so far in your career, and like obviously, like I'm sure you've had like the same setup on all three lifts for probably several years now, to where it's like you could probably change your setup in a way to make mixed grip work, but is it worth trying to do it?
Yeah, well, and we grow based off motor patterns, right? Like strength is a neurological adaptation. That's why powerlifters are stronger than bodybuilders, even though they look like they could kick our ass any day.
Yeah,
Um, and so we're adapted to the patterns that we've put ourselves in over time. And so it's almost I've talked about this to other people before. And it's almost like I would have to quite literally detrain to then build it back up. And
yeah,
I'm just like, I'm 6 years into training on a deadlift bar and doing all this at this level. Okay, how many years is it going to take me to pull back and then rebuild to be at the same caliber? And giving that I'm not getting any younger, like I just turned 30 now, so I, I don't know how reasonable that's going to be.
yeah. It's definitely a between a rock and a hard place type of thing for your situation.
Yeah, it really is.
But I think we can dive into a little bit about some of your other beats. Obviously, you have the 181 record, and you were able to beat. Did John Hack have it at the time that you said it?
Yes. So John had the Raw 181 record at 2006 pounds um, before I did the hybrid in 2022. Time flies. I'm not sure in dates. Yeah, I think it was April or something of 22, somewhere around February of 22.
Yeah. So
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, just let everybody know what the lifts were and what the total was.
Um, yeah, so at that meet, which is funny, I went into that meet not at 100%. I had a pretty bum knee, so I was only squatting at about 90% capacity. So I squatted 661, and then actually managed to get my first 500-pound bench at that meet and my first 800-pound deadlift, which was 843. It was a Hail Mary pull, and it came together,
Yeah.
um, which is actually a really funny story. So I opened at, I think, 750 on deadlift, bobbled it. Like I was so warmed up, it moved so much faster than I expected to, and the whip just pulled me back down. So I retook it again on my second, slowed down, nailed it, no problem. Um, and then went up 40 kilos to swing for the fences to try and take John's record, and it happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think the funny thing with deadlifts too is like I've had that scenario too. I think actually this meet I'm doing in September I did last year, and my deadlift's been kind of going through like the most insane growth phase of any lift I've ever had. It's been awesome, and that was like the beginning of it. Obviously, you get more out of the gear and stuff, but um, kind of during one of the last preps I did, I kept falling at the top because I literally lock it out so fast, and I wasn't used to like that strength there, that I
Yeah.
lock it out so fast, and literally there's videos of me falling down like 3 times in deadlifts. And so there was like a little bit of phase of like basically the yips on deadlift, and then after that I my deadlift went up to like 755, and the goal for that meet was 700. So like it's just crazy how small little
Yeah.
tweaks and like different scenarios like that can just change the whole outcome.
Yeah. Well, and something I've noticed based on like, and this is speculation, but I think I'm pretty close on this one. Um, the grind from like a 600-pound deadlift to a 700-pound deadlift is harder than it is to go from 7 to 8 when we're talking on a deadlift bar. Like there's something about like the sweet spot. Once you start getting into the 700s, the bar just bends like exponentially more, like the level of slack. And so your ability to get upright and get in position just changes so much at those weights that you can make a lot of progress really fast.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, so I agree with you in my scenario, but on the flip side, my friend John, it took him 10 years to go from 700 to 800, which is crazy because like I said, so my first 4 years, it was raw, but I attempted 600 for my third pull at every meet, missed it, and finally got on the fourth year. And then I switched to sumo, which was the best thing I could have ever done. But I went from 600 to 700 in less than, it was like 8 months, a year or something like that, a
Yeah,
year. And now I'm already
yeah.
starting to knock on the door of 800. It's crazy.
It's amazing what happens when you live to your body's structure.
Yeah.
Because I had a similar phenomenon when I switched to sumo. Um, you know, Texas high school powerlifting, teenage boys are turds, and we would tease each other for pulling sumo, right? Like, so nobody pulled sumo because you just get teased for doing that.
Yeah.
Um, and one summer, like I bombed out of collegiate nationals my freshman year. Came in seated second. All I had to do was total. I got second place as a freshman. And I partied too much, drank too much beer, gained like 10 pounds, cut it all, and then my suits didn't fit.
Oh God.
So I just got stapled on 3 benches in a row. Anyways, I was like, I'm going to get it together, try some new things, and then switch to sumo. And that summer, 3 month period, my sumo went from 500 to 600 in 3 months.
Yeah. And for me, one of the biggest benefits of why sumo, one, I'm just very quad dominant from being a football player for a year, played D line, like obviously, like that's all quads off the start, and I have
Yeah.
super mobile hips, so I can externally rotate like an insane
Yep.
amount and be able to stay super upright. So like to me, even if it's like my max deadlift, it doesn't take a lot out of me because it's straight leverage.
Yep. Same. I can completely relate. I could deadlift twice a week, but squat once maximum. I like it's so ridiculous. I could deadlift 800 pounds twice in a week and be perfectly fine. Because it's just so not taxing, and that's why I don't lift with a belt either. Because my positioning is like 1 or 2 degrees better without the belt, and just that small fraction when we're talking about physics and leverage here is enough to give me more than what the stability from a belt would.
Yeah. How long? So how long did it take you to figure that out?
Um, so I first figured it out on accident. And this is actually tying back to a story I know you asked on the questionnaire. It was my first 700-pound deadlift in the gym.
Yeah, let's go into that.
Um, so my best pull ever at the time was like 650 or 660 on a power bar. So I went for a little 5 kilo PR, like 672, I think is what it was. 5 reds and a yellow, whatever that is. And I at this time my gym was in my living room in college. And I just got carried away talking to my now wife and my roommate right before I went up, just like being super chill, like a daisical about it. Walked up, pulled it so fast I lost my balance, and I was just like,
I
"What
know the
just
feeling.
happened?" Yeah. When then my wife was like, "You forgot to put your belt on." I was like, "I did, didn't I?" So what's the only logical thing to do when you pull a PR that fast? Put more weight on the bar, right?
Yeah.
So I proceed to load 716 because it's a pretty number, and I'm just like, well, I've always wanted to pull 700, but 6 reds is just very aesthetic.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I go up and send it, and it flies. It was really funny because I remember the conversation. My wife was like, "You're not going to put your belt on?" I was like, "No." And I was like, "Johnny Candido pulls without a belt." She's like, "Well, you're not Johnny Candido." And I'm like, "I know, I'm better." I was just being a real smartass.
Yeah.
Um, go up, pull it. My roommate's in the kitchen, which is right in front of me, eating a bowl of cereal, just like, what did I just watch?
That's so funny. And so I guess as far as the Instagram name, where did you kind of get that from?
um, so being a redhead, I've heard every name under the rainbow. Like it's not even funny anymore. Like someone called me something like, "Yeah, okay, I haven't heard that before, right?" Um, and I actually have a friend of mine that called me the Super Saiyan orangutan, and I was like, "That is probably the most unique thing anybody's ever called me ever." So like, I got to give him props for that, right? And then it just kind of got me thinking, and I was at a point where I just kind of wanted to like rebrand my social media image, and I was just like, it's like I don't really care for the Super Saiyan orangutan. I was like, but I'm definitely an orangutan, like that fits. And so deadlifting orangutan is just kind of came out of that.
Yeah, I think I think it's fitting for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm definitely really high on the ape index. Like I can touch my knees standing up. I'm 5'5", my wingspan's 5'9".
Oh wow, yeah, and I think that's where it's like some people would be like, "Oh, that's more of a conventional build," and I'm kind of similar where I have long arms, I have very long legs too, and that's why I was almost surprised that sumo worked better. And it's like you can't just go off of a couple indicators; you have to look at like the full picture and just like kind of just dive into that more.
Yeah. Well, something we like to say is structure dictates function. And so, there is a textbook for how human anatomy and physiology exists, but none of us are textbook.
Yeah,
A textbook human being doesn't exist. Prove me wrong. Uh, and so, whenever you finally take the time to sit there and analyze how are your hip structures, how are your shoulders structured, like what direction do they angle, you can kind of start to figure out what you're actually going to be good at. Because like I've got a 5'9" wingspan at 5'5". I shouldn't be able to bench 500 pounds. There's
yeah,
no way.
yeah. That's what I was gonna dive into next.
Well, so and again, based on the whole structure dictates function. So most people, again, if we're talking textbook, right? Um, your humerus and your clavicle are going to attach about a 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
If we're talking textbook, 90-degree generalization. Well, mine actually has a very steep downward slope.
Okay.
And so my humerus is really, really, really low. And so not only is that advantageous for deadlift because it sags when I lock out, but it allows me to retract and depress more and create more of an arch and get more of my humerus out of the way for bench press. So if I had a 5'5" wingspan with the same shoulder insertion, I'd be benching 600 pounds at 181.
Yeah.
I actually went to a sports doctor one time when I was having shoulder pain as a kid. He did some X-rays, and he looked at me without skipping a beat, and he's like, "You're really good at bench pressing, are you?" And I was just like, "Well, yeah. How the hell did you know that?" And he's like, "Your shoulders, like you are built to bench press."
That's funny. Yeah. So I'm just gonna assume that mine are the opposite direction then.
Yeah, it'd be that way sometimes. And obviously, there's exceptions to these rules. I've met people that have the really high shoulders, but their arms are shorter than their height, and so it's just super powerful and explosive off their chest, but they can't they can't deadlift. So we give and we take.
Yeah, and that's the thing that like I'm the type of lifter that's like I need to make up for my bench with my deadlift. It's and especially when you add in the multiply factor, it's like I'm still not good in a shirt yet. Like I'm getting better, and like you can kind of overcome some of your, I guess, quote unquote, like build with the right setup, learning the shirt correctly. But at the same
Yes.
time, it's like I'm in that in between space where it's like, all right, I just got to pull something to make up for that shitty bench.
Yeah, I've been blessed to never have to deal with that. But deadlift used to actually be my worst event, so it used to hold me back at meets once upon a time.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I like to say the deadlift is an enemies to lovers story for me.
They say bench is the break between the two real lifts.
Yeah, yeah. That's honestly that's a common thing in multiply too, especially up in New England. Like so many of us, we have like even just like my friend group, my like um coaching circle or crew or whatever you want to call it. Um, we all there's multiple 1,000-pound squatters. We got a bunch of people that are really good at deadlifting, and there's like I'd say 80% of us kind of suck at bench. We have like those few guys that are benching 700-800 pounds, and their deadlift obviously isn't as good just because that's how it works. But I'd say New
Yeah.
England powerlifting is not like a benching group.
That's my gym at one point in time at our peak when we had a lot of people moving in and out of San Antonio. But at one point in time, I had 11 500-pound raw benchers
That's
at my
crazy.
gym.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's
Yeah, most gyms are lucky to have one.
yeah.
So yeah, I remember trying to count them all up one day, and I'm like, okay, most of the reds in my gym, and I have a lot of reds at my gym, are taken up with people benching.
Yeah, and for some perspective, like I think I've only witnessed maybe two raw 500-pound raw benches, and I mean my friend just had shoulder surgery, but like he was a 500-pound raw bencher. Like one of our old training partners was hit it, and like I said, it's so rare around here for some reason that the fact that you had 11 in one gym, I don't even know if there's 11 in New England.
Well, there's probably a lot of deadlifters though, right?
Yeah, I'd say we're definitely a squatting thing. Like I said, with the I think I don't know the exact number. It's probably around 15,000-pound squatters in multiply in this area, which is crazy
Okay.
because about 6 years ago there was one.
Yeah, that is wild. Well, it sounds like y'all probably had a maybe a growth in like the equipped crew.
Yeah, yeah, and our coach kind of has this way of getting us set up to where it's like we get so much out of the suits, and obviously we build our raw strength. We have a lot of these guys that are squatting 1,000 and multiplier squatting anywhere from like high sixes to 800. So.
Yeah, and that's one. And then you've got to have you got to have a crew for lifting and equipment. Yeah, that's impressive. And a lot of I feel like I've heard a lot of equipped lifters just kind of let their raw lifts go to shit. It's like their nervous system's prime; they can handle a load, but they don't ever put in the effort to build both ends.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of like you said, a lot of multiply lifters miss the mark, and that's why I think our group of people is so successful because like after my meet that I did in April, it was a 6 week raw block, and like I'm still young, I can still handle raw training, high volume, but even like older people or people even at the tail end of their careers, they're still training raw. Like we do a volume bench day raw, like we still do hard accessories and secondaries raw. Like some people in multiply will just, all right, I'm gonna go do my equip squat and then I'll do 10 leg extensions, go home.
Yeah, yeah. And what's funny is I was guilty of that to some degree whenever I was at least training in equipment when I was still in college. But that was honestly it was created by the environment because I only had 3 hours total,
Yeah,
and like part of that was getting started with the team, warming up, doing this crap. So really, I've only got like 2 hours and 15 minutes of just like access to the room with all the equipment in it, and I couldn't go train at the rec. Like that was just not an option. And so I had just enough time to take care of myself and equipment, and then maybe wrap someone else's knees between sets. And then by the end of it, I'm just like, I'm not doing my accessories and raw work at the end of this. Like, I don't have time for this, and
yeah,
I'm not going to lift until 10 o'clock.
yeah. And honestly, I feel that especially when you get to an end of prep when your CNS is fatigued as shit, like you climb out of the gear and you're like, I don't want to go home, I want to go nap.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do know, okay, kind of on the flip side, I do know you're big on like taking big singles all the time, and like that's something that's kind of not the word I'm looking for, like not questionable, but like people will be like, "Why are you doing that?"
Counterintuitive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
like, tell
yeah.
us your journey with that and kind of how you figured out that's what works for you.
So, honestly, how it started was laziness. I'm not gonna lie to anybody about that. It was straight laziness, and me being a teenage boy, early 20s, I just want to lift heavy all the time. Like
Yep.
this 100% how it started. But then I was always seeing progress, and people were giving me a hard time about it. And I'm just like, well, if I'm always seeing progress, lifting at 90% year round, why would I stop? And then obviously, flash forward a few years, I actually start trying to understand the mechanisms behind it and understand the actual why. And as I as I learned a little bit more, I realized the whole the adaptation process, right? Like we adapt to the stimulus that we put ourselves into.
Yeah.
And so, there are people, I like to use bodybuilders as an example. And again, generalization. um, but you look at a bodybuilder that's 300 pounds, sub 5% body fat, but they can't bench 405. They've got all this muscle, but they don't know how to use it. And so they've been doing all this volume, the hypertrophy, they build it, they don't know how to use their muscle. Whereas, like me doing singles all the time, all my body knows how to do is utilize the muscle that I have to its fullest extent.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of realized that the reason why I was getting stronger was because I was adapted to it. And I think people prioritize volume and they just think, oh, I get stronger if I gain muscle. And it's like, yes, that's true. But if you can only utilize 50% of the muscle you already have, and your goal is to get stronger from a weight perspective, you want the number to go up. Well, maybe you should spend a little bit more time teaching your body how to use it by doing moderately heavy singles routinely.
Yeah. So
And now this is not like we're not redlining. I'm not hitting 100% every week. This is like a maintenance 95% level intermittently.
yeah, and so with that, how do you kind of incorporate like a deload, or I guess when it comes to like peaking, if you're doing it year round, like how do you kind of manage your peak then if you're, I guess per se, peaked almost all the time?
Well, when we're peaking, we're looking for like 101 to 105% on meet day, right? So if I'm maintaining about 90%, well, I can hop into a meet whenever I want.
Yeah.
But also, for me personally, at least the level that I'm at and the weights that I'm lifting, okay, I deadlift 900 pounds, 90% is 800. Like, to me, 800 is a pretty casual pull. And so I take a 10-week prep, do a pretty simple linear progression, add 5 kilos a week, deload, go into the meet. So like for me, 90% maintaining that. I don't ever really need a deload as long as I'm not actually exceeding that.
Okay. So that's kind of like you've been able to discover or adapt to where that 90% is almost like a threshold of where your CNS stays primed, but it doesn't fatigue itself.
Yeah. And so I can maintain, like a 500-pound bench year round at like 95%. But bench is also a little bit more, our upper body can handle a little bit more of a
Yeah.
beating.
Yeah.
It can handle that. And then also something I've learned in my experience, and I know a lot of people can relate to this. If bench is going to go up, bench is going to go up. And if it's going to plateau, it's going to plateau. It really doesn't matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's going to cooperate or it's not.
Yeah, because we all do the same shit. It's all just big back and big triceps. We're training those shit all the time, and like you said, sometimes it'll progress, and sometimes it'll just completely stall out. Like I was stuck a few years ago. I was stuck at like 345 for like 2 years, and then I mean, being in the shirt obviously helped like that overload and stuff. But like
Sure.
I've been dealing with some pec issues, but I feel like if I went back to raw right now, if I were to like quote unquote peak my bench, say I was doing a bench only meet, like I'd be way above my last best and I did in January of 390.
Yeah, and it comes in spurts. Like when it's ready to go, it goes. It's typically not 5 pounds every couple months. It's like no, you're gonna put 20 to 50 pounds on that bench in a 6 month period, and then you're gonna flatline again.
Yep. I know. I wish there was like it's funny that you say that because like it's so true, and I've seen that with so many people, and it's like I wonder. There's got to be we got to get an explanation for this.
Yeah, no, I really want to understand because, like, when I'm explaining this to people and they're just looking at me like I'm retarded, like if they're getting new into it, I'm just like, look, this is one of those things I cannot tell you why this works. I cannot. I want to know why. It just does. It
Yeah.
just does.
Yeah. So, kind of going off that, I do know you do coaching. You have your own gym. Maybe tell us about the gym itself. Maybe kind of like what led you to open one, and kind of how you incorporate the coaching with that.
Yeah. So I'm probably probably a weird person in the idea that I've known exactly what I've wanted to do with my life since I was about 16. When I was 16, I said I want to help people, I want to be a coach, and I want to own a gym one day. Like getting into powerlifting, um, I don't want to say it saved me, but like my identity was football for 9 years. And then when I realized that, okay, I'm 5'5" and 140 pounds, like football is not going to be it for me.
Yeah.
And so in that regard, finding powerlifting really saved me as a kid. Gave me an outlet for all of that, which I know is done for a lot of other people. And so I knew that I wanted to provide an environment and teach people how to find that in the gym, like whether it be providing the community where they can just have that, or showing people by coaching them. And fast forward to now, it's actually really funny. I'm still in love with the gym. It's a burden and a blessing simultaneously. But coaching, I've learned, is not actually what I want to do with the rest of my life. As I've gotten more into the entrepreneurship side of running a business, I've learned that, like, as far as how my brain operates, like the entrepreneurship side is actually what really fascinates me, and that's where I thrive. And so, getting more into business management and ownership is actually more where my focus is right now. Like, I only have one client left at this point. He's been with me for like 3 years. He'll probably be here for another 3 until he gets shipped off somewhere else. He's in the military.
Yeah. And so with that, and I kind of share that same perspective. Like when I was like 22 or 21, like I was like, I want to coach. Like I did personal training at like a local Y and stuff. And then I was like, I don't really like this. One, people are annoying, to be honest. and and that's why I kind of started this podcast. I was like, I want to do, like, obviously Dave Tate has his podcast. There's other podcasts out there, but I wanted to kind of grow the world of powerlifting. I wanted to use it as a learning experience for me. And then obviously turned it into a merch store and like trying to grow it into something more than just a podcast. And that's
Yeah.
been so fun to me.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right?
Yeah.
And I just found that while I love my clients, I love seeing them succeed. I love seeing their progress. Like, that was so fulfilling for me at one point in time. Just progressively over time, started getting less and less fulfillment out of that, and feeling more and more fulfilled on the business side of things, and trying to problem solve for my own life, not necessarily someone else's.
Yeah. So as far as the gym goes, maybe just let everybody know what it's called, where it is, and kind of if you could describe the environment there.
Yeah, this is Primal Strength and Performance in San Antonio. We are a strength and conditioning gym. Used to say just powerlifting gym, but that's really not the vibe. Like, everybody here, even if their goal is to kind of lose some weight, everybody's here to get stronger, whether that be mentally, physically, emotionally, and that ties into building a community. I know it's you pretty much beating a dead horse. It's what all the powerlifters talk about, but it's true. That's what we do. You find a good gym, you find a good community, and it helps you in every element of your life. And so that's why I said I'm still in love with the gym, even if it's a burden financially some months and it does great other months. Like, I feel fulfillment whenever I see. Like, I'm looking at it right now over here. I've got like 8 cameras up because I see everything in the gym. I'm like Big Brother, and I just love seeing people that connecting that wouldn't have otherwise connected had they not found this place.
Yeah. And so what are some of the things that have made your gym successful?
Um, well, it's funny. I think the things that made it successful are having the key foundation of strength. We're not your gym where you come in and you want to just do cardio all the time. Like, I don't even cater to that. The cardio equipment I have is like literally tucked off in a corner where you can't be seen when you're doing it.
That's my type of gym. That's my type of gym right there.
Yeah. So I think just keeping that theme. I've been in a lot of gyms. Actually, a gym I worked out of before I opened this one. Um, they at one point in time, like, they had a really good tight knit community, and I just watched over 2.5 years. I watched that community just kind of dissolve because they were just so money focused, which is like good. They've got a successful business. I'm not gonna shit on that, but when you start catering to CrossFit, powerlifting, strongman, and then soccer moms that want to come in and just get fit, and then the outdoor classes and all that, when you've got too many ideas of what good is, like, it just there's too much diversity at a certain point,
Yeah.
right? You can only have so many ideologies, and so I feel like I've stayed true to my mission, and that's why we've been at least been able to maintain the level of success that we've had.
Yeah, and I do agree. I think there's that fine line of like you can't really just have like just a powerlifting gym or just a strongman gym. Like that's almost too specific to be successful. But when, like you said, if you spread out where you're trying to cater to everyone, then you're not going to develop that community of where you're going to have a gym member that's been there for 10 to 20 years or that little crew of powerlifters that's been there for 5, 6 years. Like it's something that, like you said, there's kind of a happy medium there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've said to multiple people, I'm like, look, if I could cap my gym at if I could afford to take an L on rent and cap my gym at my 50 favorite members, I would, in a heartbeat, if I could just keep it safe for them and made sure they were 100% comfortable and didn't have to deal with the potential oddball coming in and ruining the vibe, like I would do it in a heartbeat. But that's not the reality of the situation.
Yeah. So how long have you had the gym for?
About 3.5 years.
And I guess from a business perspective, what's some of the things that you're looking for, like as goals or kind of growth in that regard?
Well, one, I definitely want more space. Um, just having more space, I can, from a business perspective, like have a more diverse crowd without putting a damper on the community that we have built at this point.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something I'd like to do, and also I'd like to just have more room for equipment, add more stuff. I know that's a common theme. It's like I just want more stuff. I want more things. When are you ever going to use that? I don't know. I don't do my auxiliaries anyways, but it looks cool. It looks fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like every gym owner ends up turning into like a equipment collector at some point.
Yep, you really do. I mean, I remember. So I bought a bunch of kilo plates. Like we only have kilo plates in my gym, but I remember I bought like 60 blues because I was like, well, I want people to still have their 45-pound plate math, right? Like this is my compromise. You want to use 45s, they're still going to use calibrated plates. After a year and a half, I could still find 30 blues without a single chip of paint because everybody wanted to use the reds, and I was just like, okay, y'all, I guess I was wrong. So I was actually able to flip those and buy like 6 new pieces of equipment because they were brand new.
Yeah, so here's my powerlifting hot take. I think since we're in the US, they Rogue makes the calibrated pound plates. I feel like we should stop using kilos.
I don't entirely disagree, but I don't entirely agree either. Simply, one, them being calibrated, I have seen with my own eyes a 45-pound plate that weighed 53 pounds. I've seen it in so many situations, like 48, 50, 53. I've even heard of some people saying they're 55 at their gym. So, like, calibrated plates, gotta have calibrated plates. Um, but honestly, the more I've used the kilos and the more I've gotten used to it, the math is a lot simpler.
Yeah.
I'm like, I see why all the other countries use it. I'm like, this just makes more sense.
Yeah,
I
well,
get it. We're the
for me,
weird ones.
yeah, because I work in biopharma and like the engineering world where it's like, yeah, we're using the metric system. Like everything's tens, it's all simple, but our brains are so hardwired to like, well, what does that mean in stupid American terms?
Yes, it really it really is. People ask, what's that in pounds? I'm like, I don't even know anymore, honestly. 300 kilos, that's what I know. Like,
And the way I think it does work, kind of like my compromise is like when you go to like chip a world record and stuff, like it's funny because it goes back and forth. Like, say, we'll just say the record's 672.4. Then someone goes 675, and then someone goes 683. It's like there's smaller jumps in between when you go back and forth like that.
yeah. Well, I I think I've only shipped something like one time. I'm like, what's the next biggest round plate? Like that's my attitude behind it. I look at the plates, not the actual number.
Yeah. So I guess kind of back to you, like now that obviously you decided to not do that meet, what's kind of like this next step forward for you?
Well, when I realized that I wasn't actually just broken from the hamstring being in pain for however long. Um, I'm like, okay, well, mentally, I'm still prepared to compete now that I know I'm like actually healthier than I thought I was. Was already in the middle of prep. Um, so I just kind of took an impromptu deload. Actually went on vacation instead of going to the meet, and then came back and started hit the ground running. I've got a meet on September 20th.
Okay.
So I'm transitioning to using the deadlift bar again, getting back and squat bar, getting back into it, getting out of wraps and back into sleeves. Because there's like $20,000 in cash prizes. So I
Oh,
was like,
hell
oh,
yeah.
cash prize meet in Texas. That never happens. So and then I might actually be able to make a run at 181. I'm real close to giving up on 181s, but
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, every time you cut, it gets a little bit harder, and obviously, the older you get, the even harder it gets. So, I think
yeah.
my personal suggestion would be just let that 198 fly and see what you can do there.
Yeah, well, my problem is I'm still only 5'5". Like I'm not getting any taller.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how much more I can cram onto this frame. Like I already walk around at 195, and I'm like, I know guys that are 6 foot tall at 195 and look, pretty decent as far as musculature. So I don't know how much denser I can get.
Yeah, and then I
Uh,
guess kind of a follow-up question. I know that so when I was doing a little bit of research, I did hear on a podcast that you were at the time looking to get back into gear. Is that something that's still on your mind?
yes, absolutely. So I know everybody says this, but one of my long-term goals is to actually be at least in contention for the best that ever did it. And I think one of the things that I think a lot of people can agree on with Ed Cohn that made him the best that ever did it is he was the best in every category.
Yep.
Um, and so I want to, at some point in time in my career, hold a all-time world record total between at least three categories. Raw, regardless of the weight class, like I'll probably be a 198. I swell when I get into it quickly. So there ain't no way in hell I'm gonna make 181 while prepping single ply. But I'd like to hold single ply total, wrap total, and raw total. And Jawan Garrison chipped my raw total. So I've got to go take that back at 181 before I commit to doing anything else.
Yeah, and as far as other long-term goals, what else do you kind of have besides maybe some records or totals that you want to go for?
Um, the only two things that I've just been chasing and eyeballing for a really long time. Um, I want a 5 times bodyweight deadlift, which if I did it at 181 would be 904. And then I want to hit 100 meets before I retire.
Oh wow.
So
Do you know of
I
anyone
know
that's done that before?
full power, no. There's people with over 100 meets, but they've done a lot of single lifts. Like I actually know a guy that does my meets because like we run Powerlifting United Texas, and he does at least 50% of our meets bench only. He's an old retired Marine, benches like 700 pounds in one of the F8s.
Yeah.
Like he's an absolute unit. But because it's bench only, he's just like, oh, I really like y'all. I'm happy to give you my money. There's a meet this weekend. Like, so he'll just hop in.
Yeah.
So he's done like in the past 2 years with us, he's done like 9 of our
Oh
meets.
wow.
And he's not just doing them with us.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, 100 meets and 5 times bodyweight deadlift, I think are going to be my like, once I hit those, I'm going to talk about retiring.
Yeah.
Because like, what else is there at that point?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of like there's a certain point. It's like, yeah, I mean, we all are still gonna lift after we're retired. Like that's why we don't. The term retired is so funny because we'll still be training, and then who knows? Like 10 years later, you'll be like, I'm gonna do a push pull or something. Like you're never
Yeah,
fully retired.
I completely agree, and that's why I've told my wife we've had this conversation. She's like, "What are you gonna do when you quote unquote retire?" I'm like, I might not ever actually do another powerlifting meet again after that, simply because I'm too competitive.
Yeah,
Like I am super competitive to the point that it's like if I'm not in contention to be at least like top 10 at what it is that I'm doing, I'm not interested. So like once I'm over the hill and I don't think I can total over 2K anymore consistently, I'm probably just gonna wrap it up because I'm not gonna be happy with it. They're like, oh well, you can just register like submaster or master. I'm like, no, 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 open or nothing. I don't care.
I was just gonna say, what happens when you see a master's record that you could take in like a week?
No, I adding subdivisions for me personally, it's like it's open for open or nothing. But I have have some hope. I know I've talked to Gene Bell, if you know who that is. Gene Bell has held like 181 single ply record since the
Oh
80s.
wow.
Like still to this day, you can go look it up and he's on there. And he told me once that he was in his prime at 39.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like that's what's so cool about powerlifting is like the prime. I think it comes down to just years in the sport, but it obviously there's outliers stuff. Like look at Donnie Thompson, he hit the 3,000 total at 47. Like that's what it's so cool. There's so many, and then some people peak when they're like 19.
Yeah, yeah. And that's been the conversation. It's like I started lifting when I was 12, so I'm 18 years into strength training.
Yeah,
And so I'm a pretty high mileage vehicle, but I'm still holding up all right. So I'm like, I don't know, I might be able to get another 10 years at relatively peak performance. I might be able to steadily scale and grow. I mean, I know I definitely still have some execution issues to work on. Like my strength levels right now are probably about 2150 at 181. My best total to date, 2017, was done with 4 attempts. I actually had a bad day. So I'm hoping that even if I don't get bigger and stronger, that I can just get better
yeah,
over the next 10 years.
yeah. And I mean, just looking at the Gene Bell's total right now, like, I mean, in single ply, that's I think you could blow that out of the water.
I do too. I just like haven't really had the I don't know. I've had the time, but I would have to take off time competing raw to figure out how to use this crap again.
Yeah, for sure. But I think we can wrap things up here. So I'll ask you my
Okay.
final question. If you could give a new powerlifter, someone going into their first meet, a word of advice, what would you tell them?
Um, Take care of your body and sleep. Everyone talks about nutrition. They talk about training modalities and this and that. But the first thing any of us sacrifice is our sleep. Oh, I have to go to work. Oh, I got to wake up for this. I got to do this. It's like, no, get your 8 to 10 hours and take care of yourself. Prioritize that over other things, and you would be surprised at how much progress you make in life and in the gym.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and that's something that I'm actually very big on too. Like I will sacrifice other things to get the sleep I need, especially if I'm in prep, and I've only seen benefits from it, and it's something like I like to advocate for as well. So I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to come on. It was my pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me out.